So, back in January 2026, this new global player just pops up on the scene, the Board of Peace. US President Donald Trump announced it as the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled, and he promised it would kick off a whole new era of global stability. But its arrival sent these immediate shockwaves through the international community, and the reasons why, well, they're absolutely fascinating. Right away, critics started raising some serious red flags. The Guardian newspaper, for instance, did not mince words. They called it a Trump-dominated pay-to-play club. That one phrase really gets to the heart of the whole controversy, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack here.
So, let's get right down to it. What is this Board of Peace really? Is it a genuine new tool for making the world a safer place? Or is it something else? To figure that out, we have to look past the fancy mission statement and really dig into the fine print of its founding charter.
All right, part one, a new world order. Let's start with what the board says it's all about.
Okay, so on paper, its purpose sounds pretty standard for an international group, right? The charter says its whole mission is to promote stability and peace in conflict zones. A noble goal, for sure, but, context is everything here. And that context comes straight from the founder. See, President Trump didn't just create a new organization, he was positioning it as a direct challenger to the way things have been done for decades, by saying, the United Nations never helped me, and then suggesting his new board might just replace it. Wow. The ambition right from the get-go was to totally rewrite the rules of global governance.
Okay, part two, the plan for Gaza. Now, to understand how this massive global board even came into existence, we have to look at its pretty surprising origin story, which all started with a very specific plan for peace in Gaza.
So, if you look at how this all went down, a really crucial detail jumps out. The idea of some kind of international body for Gaza wasn't brand new. But once President Trump threw his support behind a version of it in September 2025, things started moving fast. By November, the UN Security Council had actually passed a resolution welcoming its creation. That gave the whole project this huge stamp of international legitimacy. But here is the major twist. The charter that was later sent around to world leaders, the actual rulebook, it looked totally different from the Gaza-specific plan the UN thought it was signing off on. Sources say the final document barely even mentioned Gaza and instead laid out the blueprint for a permanent, global institution.
All right, part three, inside the charter. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. This is where the true nature of the Board of Peace really starts to come into focus.
The very first thing that just jumps right off the page is the price of admission, $1 billion. According to the charter, if your country wants a permanent seat at the table, you have to pony up $1 billion in cash. If you don't, your term is limited to just 3 years. It's literally a pay-to-play system. Then you have the question of who's in charge. The charter is incredibly specific here. It doesn't name the office of the U.S. president as the chair. No, it names Donald J. Trump personally. And that is such a critical distinction. The power is with the man, not the institution. It's a personal, lifetime appointment. So, here's how decisions actually get made. While the members can vote on things, any decision is, and I'm quoting, subject to the approval of the chairman. That little phrase right there, that's a complete veto. It means all the power is incredibly concentrated in one person's hands.
And finally, you've got the issue of what happens next. The charter says the chairman, and the chairman alone, gets to designate their own successor. Just think about that. The leadership of this powerful new global body isn't decided by an election or a vote. It's just handpicked by the person currently in charge.
Okay, on to part 4, a world divided. As you can probably guess, once these details started leaking out, the global reaction was, well, it was swift and it was stark. This chart right here really tells the whole story. On one side, you have countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Hungary saying, yeah, we're in. But then look at the other side, a whole list of key U.S. allies, the UK, France, Germany, Italy. They all said no thanks, basically saying they were worried this whole thing was set up to replace the United Nations. And, even for the countries that did say yes, it wasn't always a simple answer. Take Canada, for example. The Prime Minister accepted the invitation, but then his finance minister almost immediately told the press that they would not be paying that $1 billion fee for a permanent seat. So it's a yes, but situation. So this brings us to the most important question of all. Part 5. What's really at stake? Beyond all the geopolitics and the big money, what's the actual human impact, especially for the people this was supposedly created to help in the first place? To really get a handle on that, we need to listen to the analysis from groups on the ground. The Palestinian policy organization MIFTA put out this paper outlining some really deep concerns with the whole thing, arguing that it was drafted without any Palestinian input whatsoever. Their analysis really boils it down to 5 fundamental problems. First, they say it violates the right to self-determination. Second, that it just normalizes the occupation by calling it stabilization. Third, it breaks up Palestinian territory even more. And finally, they warn that it could be used to weaponize humanitarian aid and hand over economic control to outside powers. From their perspective, it just undermines Palestinian sovereignty on every single level.
So when you pull all these pieces together, the main criticism becomes crystal clear. A lot of observers, diplomats, and analysts are arguing that the Board of Peace, despite its name, is less about fixing a specific conflict and more about building a totally new parallel power structure on the world stage, one that revolves around a single person.
And all of this leaves us with the big question just hanging in the air. Is the Board of Peace a bold, new tool that can actually get things done where other institutions have failed? Or is it a fundamental challenge to the entire international order we've known for decades, swapping out cooperation for a pay-to-play model of power? That's the question the world is trying to figure out right now.